Good morning. This morning we have Professor Roger Trigg. He will talk to us about his lecture on rationality in science and faith. Good morning, Professor Trigg. Your talk of reality in science and faith, you state that people suggest religion is not concerned with reason. What do you mean by this?
Well, I think nowadays too many people think that religion is a matter of faith, and faith is a purely subjective thing. It's what I have, what you have, what a lot of people don't have, and it's just a matter for me, it's a matter for what I do. Some people go to church on Sundays, some people play golf, it's up to you, it's a subjective thing. I don't think that's right. I think faith is about, or allegedly about, what's true. We're claiming truth, and if it's true for everybody. Okay. And therefore we can reason about it.
Thank you. You mentioned pragmatism versus metaphysics in your talk. Would it be possible that you explain what each one is and their relationship?
Yes, well, I was particularly there talking about science, and a lot of people think, well, why bother about justifying science? Science is just about what works. It enables us to manipulate the world, it gives us our non-stick frying pans and what have you, and we don't need to bother about why it works. But I say actually, you do need to actually think, why is the world such that we can do science in it?
I remember you spoke of William James and the squirrel.
Yes, well, that's a good example of what I meant by pragmatism. William James was, of course, an American pragmatist at the end of the 19th century. And one day he went and he was in upstate New York on camping, and he found some friends arguing about what a squirrel was doing. It was going round a tree, and if you see grey squirrels, and there are lots of them around in this country, if you go round the tree trying to catch up the grey squirrel will always keep the tree between you and it. Now, the question his friends were arguing is, are we going round the squirrel when we're going round the tree? And William James got fed up with this, and he said, does it matter what hangs on it? What difference does it make? And I think that's the reaction of pragmatists. They're saying, what difference does it make? And if it doesn't make any difference, philosophy is useless. But actually, I think philosophy is terribly important because it does look into our presuppositions. Now, we may assume things without realizing what we're doing, but we're still assuming them, and philosophy has to examine that.
I suppose this links to your statement about there are certain cases that make science successful.
Well, obviously, a lot of science is good at finding out about what's real, and we all know water is H2O. On the frontiers of science, there's much more rational disagreement. Are there many universes? Is there an infinite number of universes? And then we're getting into what I was yesterday talking about as being really metaphysics. We're talking about something beyond observation and experiment. And even in science, you get in that, but above all in the presuppositions of science.
So with regards to observation, you also talk about contemporary science moving away from observation, and we stop seeing. Is this an important factor now as we look at the relationship?
Well, I do think particularly in physics, there's quite a controversy in modern physics about how far away from observation and experiment you can get. There's much more reliance on theory because, of course, modern physics is going to the very small, the microscopic, and the very large. So it's going to subatomic particles that are so theoretical we can't really even ever think of having instruments that can properly come in contact with them. And then the other side, we're talking about not only an unobservable universe, but perhaps there are other universes. Now, I'm not in a position to say there aren't other universes, but I would suggest that probably the scientists who claim there are going beyond physics into what I would term metaphysics. They're using their reason, talking theoretically, but they're reaching beyond what science and scientific method can achieve.
Another factor you discussed was diversity, and I believe you have a book coming out this month on diversity.
Oh yes, well, I've just written a book about religious diversity, because obviously if you deal with religion, one of the great problems is there are lots of religions, and there's a great disagreement about what is true. In my book, I want to say that despite that, nevertheless, the notion of truth is important. Perhaps we are, I hope, all aiming at the same truth. We don't all reach the same destination. Perhaps some of us are wrong. Perhaps we're all wrong to some extent. We're all reaching for a truth beyond human comprehension in a way. There's a lot of disagreement, but I think the disagreement must be taken seriously. There's a great tendency nowadays to celebrate diversity as if that's an end in itself, but actually I think we need to discuss, we need to have dialogue with people about other religions, because truth is at stake. And incidentally, I think just because you believe something's true doesn't mean you should be intolerant, because it may be that part of what you believe is it's wrong to be intolerant.
Thank you, Professor Trigg. It was a very interesting talk. I believe at the end of your talk you spoke about the fact that science need to assume there is reality, and this is how we can understand each other. Would you like to just summarise the end?
Yes, well, I wanted to say first, a thing that most people take for granted, that in fact science is investigating an independent reality. We're not building up stories about a fictional world, so science can go wrong about that reality. What does reality have to be like for science to take place? It has itself to have a rational structure, and sometimes science takes that for granted. Scientists have to have the kind of reason that can understand that structure. Humans have reason. Why is it that we have the kind of reason that can be in touch with the world around us? Why does mathematics unlock the secrets of the universe? Those are large questions, and how you answer them takes us into another realm, I think.
Thank you very much, Professor Trigg.